Callahan estate. Inside the Callahan mansion, Arya lay unconscious on a plush bed in one of the guest rooms. The contrast between her frail, dirt-streaked figure and the luxurious surroundings was stark, almost surreal. Servants moved quietly around the room, tending to her needs under Mr. Callahan's watchful eye. Despite his earlier skepticism, he couldn't deny the miracle he had witnessed on now. Curiosity burned within him. Leo sat by Arya's bedside, refusing to leave, even when his father suggested he rest. His legs still felt weak, but every step he took filled him with a sense of wonder he hadn't experienced in years. For so long, he had accepted his condition as permanent, resigning himself to a life confined to a wheelchair. But now, hope flickered brightly in his heart, fueled by the mysterious girl who had changed everything. Hours passed. Arya finally stirred, her eyelids fluttering open to reveal dazed but alert eyes. She blinked several times, taking in the unfamiliar ornate furniture, the soft lighting, and the concerned faces watching over her. "Where am I?" she asked weakly, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're safe," Leo reassured her, leaning closer. "You're in my house." Arya turned her head slowly toward him, recognition dawning in her expression. "Did it work?" she asked hesitantly. "Can you walk?" Leo nodded eagerly, a grin spreading across his face. "Yes, I can stand, and I've taken a few steps already." "It's incredible, thank you, Arya." Her lips curved into a faint smile, though exhaustion still lingered in her features. "I'm glad," she murmured before closing her eyes again, too drained to say more. Mr. Callahan cleared his throat, stepping forward. His demeanor was calm but guarded, as if he were weighing every word carefully. "You have some explaining to do, young lady," he said sternly, though there was no malice in his tone. "What exactly are you? How did you do what you did?" Arya opened her eyes again, meeting his gaze without flinching. "I don't know how to explain it," she admitted softly. "It's just something I've always been able to do. When I touch someone who's hurt or sick, I can fix them, but it takes a lot out of me." Mr. Callahan frowned, clearly struggling to process this information. He wasn't a man accustomed to things he couldn't understand or control, and Arya's presence disrupted everything he thought he knew about the world. Yet, deep down, he couldn't deny the evidence before him. His son walking again was proof enough that she wasn't lying. While Mr. Callahan wrestled with his thoughts, Leo continued to focus on Arya, his gratitude evident in every glance and gesture. "We owe you so much," he said earnestly. "You saved me not just my legs, but my hope. I'll never forget that." Arya shook her head slightly, wincing at the effort it took. "I didn't do it for thanks," she replied. "I did it because I needed help too. Remember our deal, you promised me food." At this, Mr. Callahan let out a short, humorless laugh. "Food? Is that all you wanted in return for giving my son the ability to walk again?" "It's more than I usually get," Arya shot back, surprising both men with her honesty. There was no bitterness in her tone, only quiet resignation. Hunger and survival had shaped her life in ways they could scarcely imagine. Leo looked at his father, his expression pleading. "Father, we should give her whatever she needs. She's done something extraordinary for us." Mr. Callahan hesitated, his pride warring with his conscience. Finally, he sighed and nodded. "Fine, you'll stay here until you recover fully, and after that," he trailed off, unsure of what came next. Arya didn't press him for details. For now, having a roof over her head and food in her stomach was enough. As servants brought her a tray laden with warm soup and fresh bread, she ate slowly, savoring each bite like it was her first meal in years, which in many ways it was. Later that evening, as Arya rested, Mr. Callahan retreated to his study, where he poured himself a glass of whiskey and stared out the window. The events of the day replayed in his mind, leaving him unsettled. He had spent his entire life building wealth and power, believing those were the keys to happiness. Yet here was a girl with nothing, no money, no connections, no status, and yet she possessed something far greater, the ability to change lives. His musings were interrupted by a knock on the door. It was Leo, standing awkwardly in the doorway, fidgeting with the hem of his shirt. "Father, can I talk to you?" he asked tentatively. Mr. Callahan gestured for him to enter, sensing the seriousness in his son's voice. "What is it?" "It's about Arya," Leo began, choosing his words carefully. "She's not like other people. She's special. Don't you think we should protect her, help her protect her?" The idea struck Mr. Callahan as absurd at first, but the longer he considered it, the more it made sense. If word got out about Arya's abilities, she would become a target for those seeking to exploit her gift. And while Mr. Callahan wasn't known for his kindness, he wasn't foolish either. Protecting Arya might also mean protecting their family from whatever challenges lay ahead. "I'll think about it," he said gruffly, dismissing Leo with a wave of his hand. But as his son left the room, Mr. Callahan remained seated, staring into the amber liquid in his glass. For the first time in years, he felt uncertain and oddly vulnerable. Outside, the night grew darker, wrapping the mansion in shadows. Inside, secrets simmered beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. Little did anyone realize, Arya's arrival marked the beginning of a journey that would test their strength, challenge their beliefs, and redefine what truly mattered in life. Over the next few days, Arya slowly regained her strength, thanks to the care provided by the Callahan household. For the first time in years, she experienced what it felt like to live without hunger gnawing at her stomach or fear shadowing her every move. Yet despite the comfort surrounding her, unease lingered in her heart. She was an outsider in this world of wealth and privilege, a fragile bird perched precariously among golden cages. Leo visited her often, eager to spend time with the girl who had changed his life. Their conversations were simple but meaningful, filled with questions about each other's lives. Leo marveled at Arya's resilience, while Arya found solace in his kindness. Though they came from vastly different worlds, a bond began to form between them, one built on mutual respect and gratitude. However, not everyone shared Leo's warmth toward Arya. Mr. Callahan remained distant, observing her from afar with a mixture of suspicion and intrigue. He hadn't forgotten the magnitude of what she had done for his son, but he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her story than she let on. Late at night, when the mansion grew quiet, he would sit in his study, poring over old books and documents, searching for answers to questions he barely understood himself. One evening, as Arya sat by the window in her room, gazing out at the sprawling gardens below, Mrs. Evelinda, head housekeeper, entered with a tray of tea. Her presence was calming, her gentle demeanor putting Arya at ease. "You seem troubled, dear," Mrs. Evelyn said softly, setting the tray down on a nearby table. "Is something bothering you?" Arya hesitated before responding. "It's just, I don't belong here," she admitted quietly. "This place is so different from anything I've ever known. I feel like I'm intruding." Mrs. Evelyn smiled warmly. "You saved Leo's life, child. No one could call that intrusion. Besides, we all have our struggles, no matter where we come from." Her words offered some comfort, but Arya couldn't shake the nagging sense that trouble loomed on the horizon. It wasn't just her discomfort with luxury, it was the weight of secrets she carried on, the growing realization that others might soon discover them. Meanwhile, Mr. Callahan's investigations led him to an old journal, hidden away in the mansion's library. Its pages were yellowed with age, its handwriting faded but legible. As he flipped through the entries, written decades ago by his late grandfather, he stumbled upon something startling: mentions of individuals with healing gifts who had been sought after during times of war and famine. According to the journal, these individuals were both revered and feared, their powers coveted by those who wished to exploit them. The discovery sent chills down Mr. Callahan's spine. Could Arya be one of these people? And if so, what did that mean for his family? Determined to confront her, he sought her out the following morning. He found her sitting alone in the garden, her fingers tracing patterns in the dukist grass. When she noticed him approaching, she stood up quickly, brushing off her dress. "Mr. Callahan," she greeted him cautiously, unsure of why he had come. "I need to ask you something," he said bluntly, cutting straight to the point. "Have you always had this ability?" Arya nodded slowly, sensing the tension in his voice. "Yes," she replied, "but I didn't choose it. It's just part of who I am." "And has anyone else ever tried to take advantage of your gift?" He pressed further, her expression darkened. "Yes," she admitted reluctantly. "People find out, and they want me to heal their loved ones. Or worse, they tried to sell my abilities to the highest bidder. That's why I stayed away from places like this. But I was desperate." Mr. Callahan studied her face, seeing the pain etched into her features. For the first time, he allowed himself to see her not as a curiosity or a tool, but as a person, a young girl, burdened by circumstances beyond her control. Before he could respond, A commotion erupted near the front gates of the estate. Voices shouted outside, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps. Moments later, a servant rushed into the garden, panic evident in his eyes. "Sir," the man exclaimed breathlessly, "there are reporters here. They say they've heard rumors about your son walking again and they're demanding answers." Mr. Callahan's blood ran cold. How had word gotten out so quickly? He turned to Arya, whose face had gone pale with fear. She knew exactly what this meant if the media learned about her. Her life would never be the same. "We need to act fast," Mr. Callahan said firmly, his mind racing. Turning to the servant, he instructed, "Tell them nothing. Say it's a private matter and refuse any interviews. Then double the security around the estate." As the servant hurried away, Mr. Callahan faced Arya once more. "Listen carefully," he said, his tone urgent. "If anyone finds out about you, you'll become a target. Do you understand?" She nodded, her hands trembling. "I understand." For now, the storm brewing outside the mansion's walls had been kept at bay, but both Arya and Mr. Callahan knew it was only a matter of time before it broke loose. Secrets, once whispered, rarely stayed hidden forever, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the garden, Arya realized that her journey was far from over. Saving Leo had been just the beginning. Now, she had to fight not only for her survival, but also for the trust and protection of the very people she had helped. The days that followed were tense, as the Callahan household braced itself for the inevitable fallout from the rumors spreading outside their gates. Reporters camped out near the estate, snapping photos and speculating wildly about Leo's miraculous recovery. Some claimed it was a medical breakthrough. Others whispered of divine intervention. But amidst the chaos, one question lingered unanswered. How did he do it? Inside the mansion, Arya felt like a prisoner in a gilded cage. Though she had saved Leo and earned temporary sanctuary, the weight of her secret pressed heavily on her shoulders. Every knock at the door made her flinch. Every phone call set her nerves on edge. She knew that once the truth came to light, her life would change forever, not necessarily for the better. Leo, however, refused to let fear overshadow gratitude. He spent hours with Arya, determined to make her feel welcome despite the storm brewing around them. "You don't have to worry," he reassured her one afternoon as they sat together in the library. "My father won't let anyone hurt you." Arya managed a small smile but said nothing. She appreciated his optimism, but she also knew how quickly alliances could shift when power and greed entered the equation. For now, Mr. Callahan seemed protective, but what if circumstances changed? What if someone offered him enough money or influence to turn against her? Meanwhile, Mr. Callahan worked tirelessly behind the scenes to contain the situation. He hired a team of lawyers and public relations experts to craft a carefully worded statement denying all claims of miracles or supernatural phenomena. According to their official story, Leo's recovery was the result of years of experimental therapy, a plausible lie designed to placate the curious without revealing too much. But even as he navigated the crisis, doubts gnawed at him. Was keeping Arya hidden truly the right thing to do? Or was he simply delaying the inevitable? More importantly, could he trust her completely? These questions haunted him day and night, leaving him restless and irritable. One evening, after dismissing yet another nosy journalist at the gate, Mr. Callahan called a family meeting in his study. Leo and Arya joined him, along with Mrs. Evelyn, who had become something of a confidant to the young girl. The atmosphere was heavy with unspoken tension as Mr. Callahan paced back and forth, his hands clasped tightly behind his back. "We can't keep this up indefinitely," he began, his voice low but firm. "Sooner or later, someone will find out about you, Arya, and when they do, we need to be prepared." Arya swallowed hard, her knuckles white as she gripped the armrest of her chair. "What are you saying?" she asked cautiously. "I'm saying, we need a plan," Mr. Callahan replied. "If your abilities become public knowledge, you'll attract attention, both good and bad. People will either worship you or exploit you. Neither option is acceptable." Leo leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Then we protect her," he insisted. "We tell everyone she's part of our family. No one will dare harm her if she's under our protection." Mr. Callahan sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "It's not that simple, son. Protecting her means risking everything we've built. Our reputation, our wealth, our safety, all of it could be jeopardized." "But isn't it worth it?" Leo countered, his voice rising slightly. "She gave me my life back, Father. Doesn't that count for something?" For a moment, silence filled the room as Mr. Callahan considered his son's words. Finally, he turned to Arya, his gaze piercing but not unkind. "Do you trust us, Arya?" he asked bluntly. "Enough to stay here and face whatever comes next?" Arya hesitated, torn between caution and hope. Trust didn't come easily to someone who had spent most of her life surviving on the streets. Yet, deep down, she wanted to believe that the Callahans were different, that they genuinely cared about her well-being. Slowly, she nodded. "Yes," she said softly, "I trust you." Her answer seemed to satisfy Mr. Callahan, though his expression remained guarded. "Good," he said, "because starting tomorrow, things are going to change. We're going to prepare for the worst and pray for the best." The next morning, preparations began in earnest. Security around the estate was tightened, and Arya was given lessons on how to conduct herself in high society. A crash course in etiquette and poise, meant to help her blend in should she ever need to appear publicly. Mrs. Evelyn took charge of these sessions, teaching Arya everything from proper table manners to polite conversation. At first, Arya struggled to adapt to this new world of rules and expectations. Everything felt foreign and overwhelming, like trying to fit into clothes 2 sizes too small. But over time, she began to see the value in what she was learning. If she was going to survive in this strange new environment, she needed to understand its language and customs. Through it all, Leo remained by her side, offering encouragement and laughter whenever she grew frustrated. "You're doing great," he told her during one particularly grueling lesson. "Just imagine how proud you'll feel when you pull off being a lady." Arya laughed despite herself, grateful for his unwavering support. In many ways, Leo reminded her of the brother she never had, a bright light in an otherwise uncertain future. Yet, even as bonds strengthened within the mansion, danger loomed just beyond its walls. Unknown forces were watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And when they did, the fragile alliance holding the Callahans and Arya together would be tested like never before. The calm that had settled over the Callahan estate was shook. Despite their best efforts to keep Arya's presence a secret, whispers continued to spread like wildfire. It wasn't long before someone pieced together the Pazula journalist with sharp instincts and even sharper connections. An anonymous tip led him straight to the mansion's gates, armed with enough evidence to suggest something extraordinary was happening inside. One fateful morning, as the household prepared for another day of routine, chaos erupted. A convoy of newsvans arrived unannounced, their cameras flashing and microphones thrust toward anyone brave or foolish enough to step outside. Reporters shouted questions at the guards, demanding answers about Leo's recovery and the mysterious girl rumored to be behind it all. Inside, panic set in. Mr. Callahan immediately ordered all entrances sealed and instructed the staff to avoid contact with outsiders. But the situation escalated when a drone buzzed overhead, capturing aerial footage of the mansion. There was no denying it now. The world knew. Something unusual was unfolding within those walls. Arya watched from her bedroom window, her heart pounding as she observed the frenzy below. She had always feared this moment, the moment when her gift would bring unwanted attention. "This is it," she whispered to herself, gripping the windowsill tightly. "They're coming for me." Leo found her moments later, his face pale but resolute. "Don't worry," he said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll get through this together." But even as he spoke, doubt crept into his mind. Could they really protect her against such overwhelming odds? And what price would they pay if they failed? Later that afternoon, Mr. Callahan gathered everyone in his study once more. His usual composure had cracked under the pressure, replaced by an urgency that bordered on desperation. "We can't hide forever," he admitted grimly. "If we don't address this head-on, they'll tear us apart." Mrs. Evelyn nodded in agreement. "You're right, sir. Hiding only makes them more suspicious. Perhaps it's time to take control of the narrative." Arya listened quietly, her stomach twisting into knots. She didn't want to be the center of attention, yet she understood there was no other choice. If she stayed hidden, the speculation would continue and eventually, someone would find her anyway. "What do you propose?" Mr. Callahan asked, turning to Mrs. Evelyn. She hesitated before replying. "A press conference. Announced that Arya is part of the family, a distant relative who has been staying here while recovering from her own hardships. Downplay her role in Leo's recovery. but acknowledge her kindness and support. The room fell silent as everyone considered the plan. It was risky, exposing Arya to the public eye, but perhaps less dangerous than letting rumors spiral out of control. "Do it," Arya said suddenly, surprising even herself. All eyes turned to her, and she took a deep breath before continuing. "I'll go along with whatever you decide. I trust you." Her words seemed to galvanize the group. For the first time since the crisis began, they felt united, not just as individuals protecting themselves, but as a team determined to shield one of their own. The following day, preparations for the press conference began in earnest. Arya worked tirelessly with Mrs. Evelyn to refine her story, practicing responses to potential questions and learning how to maintain composure under scrutiny. Leo stayed by her side throughout, offering encouragement and reminding her of her strength. "You faced worse than this," he told her during a rare quiet moment. "Remember when we first met? You were starving and exhausted, but you still found the courage to help me. That same courage will carry you through now." Arya smiled faintly, grateful for his unwavering belief in her. Yet, beneath her gratitude lay a simmering fear, one she couldn't entirely suppress. Finally, the day of the press conference arrived. The mansion's grand hall was transformed into a makeshift stage, complete with rows of chairs for reporters and a podium where Mr. Callahan would speak. Cameras flashed incessantly as journalists filed in, eager to uncover the truth behind the headlines. As Arya stood backstage, clutching Leo's hand for support, she felt a surge of determination. This wasn't just about saving herself, it was about proving that kindness and resilience could triumph over greed and exploitation. Whatever happened next, she vowed to face it with dignity. When Mr. Callahan stepped up to the podium, the room fell silent. He began speaking, his voice steady and commanding. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, addressing the crowd, "today we address the rumors surrounding my son's recovery and introduce you to someone very special to our family." With that, he gestured for Arya to join him on stage. As she walked forward, the weight of countless eyes bore down on her, but instead of shrinking away, she lifted her chin and faced the world head-on. For better or worse, the truth was finally out. And though the road ahead remained uncertain, Arya knew one thing for sure: she wasn't alone anymore. The moment Arya stepped onto the stage, time seemed to stand still. The room buzzed with anticipation as reporters leaned forward, their cameras clicking incessantly. She felt exposed, like a fragile bird caught in the glare of 1,000 spotlights. Yet, as she stood beside Mr. Callahan, she reminded herself of why she was there: to protect not only herself but also the people who had taken her in and given her a chance at a new life. Mr. Callahan's voice cut through the tension. "This is Arya," he said, his tone firm yet warm. "She's a distant relative who has been staying with us during difficult times. While she played no direct role in Leo's recovery, her presence brought hope and inspiration to our family. We are grateful for her." The carefully crafted statement left enough ambiguity to satisfy curious minds without revealing too much. Reporters scribbled notes furiously, though many seemed unsatisfied by the lack of sensational details. One bold journalist raised his hand and called out, "Is it true that Arya possesses extraordinary abilities?" Arya froze for a split second, but before she could respond, Mr. Callahan interjected smoothly, "Let me make this clear: there is nothing supernatural about my son's recovery. It was the result of hard work, faith, and modern medicine. Any claims otherwise are baseless rumors." His words carried authority, silencing further questions about Arya's powers. Instead, the focus shifted to Leo, who joined them on stage. Shortly after, with a confident smile, he addressed the crowd. "I'm standing here today because I never gave up," he said, his voice steady, "and neither should anyone else facing challenges. That's what Arya taught me: to keep believing, even when things seem impossible." The audience erupted into applause, moved by Leo's sincerity. Cameras flashed as journalists scrambled to capture the emotional moment. For Arya, it was overwhelming but also liberating. Though they hadn't revealed the full truth, they had managed to steer the narrative in a way that protected her while honoring her contribution. After the press conference ended, the mansion returned to an uneasy calm. The reporters dispersed, though some lingered outside, unwilling to let go of the story entirely. Inside, the Callahans gathered once more in the study to assess the damage and celebrate their small victory. "You did well," Mr. Callahan told Arya, his tone softer. than usual. Today proved that we can handle whatever comes next, as long as we stick together. Arya nodded, relief washing over her. Thank you for everything. I know I'm not perfect, and I don't belong in your world. But, thank you for letting me stay. Mrs. Evelyn smiled warmly. You've earned your place here, dear. You saved Leo, and you've shown us all what true courage looks like. Leo chimed in, grinning. Besides, you're practically family now. No arguments allowed. For the first time since her arrival, Arya allowed herself to believe that she truly belonged somewhere, that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't destined to wander alone forever. In the weeks that followed, life at the mansion settled into a new rhythm. Arya continued, learning how to navigate high society, though she never lost sight of who she was beneath the polished exterior. Her bond with Leo grew stronger, evolving into a friendship built on mutual respect and shared experiences. Even Mr. Callahan softened around her, occasionally seeking her advice or simply spending quiet moments in her company. But peace didn't last indefinitely. One evening, as Arya strolled through the garden under the light of a crescent moon, she noticed a shadowy figure lurking near the edge of the property. At first, she thought it was a trick of the light, but then she saw movement, deliberate and calculated. Her heart raced as she slipped back inside to alert Mr. Callahan. Together, they discovered that someone had been watching the estate, a rival businessman, hoping to exploit Arya's abilities for profit. Though the threat was neutralized quickly thanks to heightened security, it served as a stark reminder that danger would always follow her gift. Yet, instead of fear, Arya felt resolve. She realized that running away wouldn't solve anything. If she wanted to live freely, she needed to face the world head-on with the support of those who cared about her. By the end of the year, Arya had become an integral part of the Callahan household. She used her abilities sparingly, helping those in genuine need while maintaining a low profile. In return, she found love, acceptance, and purpose, things she had once believed were beyond reach. As snow began to fall on the mansion grounds, signaling the start of a new season, Arya stood by the window, gazing out at the serene landscape. Beside her, Leo grinned. Looks like another adventure awaits, he teased. She laughed softly, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. Adventure, yes, but this time, she wouldn't face it alone, because sometimes, miracles aren't just about healing bodies, they're about mending hearts, building bridges, and finding home in unexpected places.